when you say another great migration, I've been reading people are leaving California. A lot of people have left New York. A lot of people are moving away for environment reasons, but also COVID-19 changed the workplace. We don't have to be in these places to do the great jobs that we're doing. Is that the migration that you're talking about, or something else going on?
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, again, a lot of people right now are tenuous about having to go back to the office place. And there's two conversations that are happening. You have executives and leaders that are simply suggesting that they can't trust their workplace to continue to be remote. But really what they're not telling you is that they want you to just come back to the offices because they are paying all that money for these buildings. That's what it comes down to. I mean, you got folks that have been accustomed to working from home now for the last 15, 16, 17 months, people that have exited a 2-4 hour commute out of their workday. You have people that haven't had to reveal to their colleagues, to their employees, some of the sicknesses and challenges that they've been dealing with, that they've been able to address now that they've been remote. So we have two different conversations and worlds happening. And your entire show today is really hitting what we need to do. We don't need to fight or chase to get back to what we used to have. We should be of the opinion and of the spirit and of the will to go after something that's entirely new, not just in politics, but in the workplace and our communities as well.
Torin Ellis, what does that look like? And I'm 100% in line with that. And I feel like, especially with the microaggressions that many Black folk have to endure, that many so-called white people never have to even understand, little things about your hair, and then how you comport yourself. Too many of us around the water, getting water. Wait a minute, all the little things we have to navigate and still do our job have gone away with the Zoom era. And work from home, which the reports are saying we're more productive too. I get a lot of people still want to go back in to the office for social reasons, but is it good work being done staying at home? What are you finding?
Absolutely, it's good work being done. I mean, all you have to do is pull the newspapers and look for the headlines of bankruptcies or organizations going out of business. That's not what's happening. You may see restaurants in some of our hospitality or retail type scenarios going out of business, but large organizations are not just being productive, they're even more productive now. That's number one. If I said what we need to do differently, let me give you two things that I think we absolutely should blow up and start all over again. We should reevaluate entirely how we recruit high performing teams. That means the colleges that we are going to, the messaging platforms that we are using, the mediums in which we invest into getting that message out. We should blow up the entire recruiting schema and start all over again. I say that we go inside the organization and blow up our benefit plans. HR has really been an administrative function. They've been a line item. They've been a cost to the business. HR can no longer protect the business. And if you have a question as to whether or not they were protecting the business, just look at what happened with Me Too and Time's Up. They were protecting the business and not the people in the organization. Blow up HR, blow up the benefit packages. Oh, absolutely. Blow all of that up and let's start all over again. Let's stop talking about the inequity in compensation for women, and let's develop benefit packages that suit women, that help women gain some of the ground that they lost.
Man, you are preaching, and I owe you a consulting fee because we're in the middle of this right now, trying to figure out what the next is. I entered into leadership of the organization that I serve during COVID. So like most of the people have never seen me in real life. And we're getting some things done. So I'm appreciating this kind of productivity and this thinking about the kind of the next normal, not even kind of a new normal or going back to normal. I wonder if there are any caveats around what are the things you really have to get together as an organization before you decide you're gonna go straight telecommuting. Like just because you've been here for the last 17 months don't mean you've been doing it well. The question is, what are the things that organizations and leaders need to make sure they're getting together if they're not going to return to that old model of bricks and mortar or that old HR model that you're talking about?
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. I would make it really, really simple. Number one, communication strategy has to be tight. Organizations are extremely efficient and adept at communicating externally, but they are not so great at communicating internally. And so while some organizations may rely on platforms like Yammer or Slack, that may not necessarily be the best medium to reach me. You might need to reach me on my mobile device. So I think we should work hard on the communication strategy that we have in place for our employees. We should also consider that everything doesn't need to be a meeting, that I could actually do a 30-second, 45-second video and send it to everybody on my team in lieu of doing a 1 hour long meeting. So I think we should look at, how do we define what productivity looks like? How do we define what it looks like to have to come together for consensus or whatever the case may be? The other thing that I think is extremely important is leadership needs to make sure that they are declarative around what's important to them. I was on the phone today when I got off of the plane with an organization that gave their team Juneteenth off last year, but this year they didn't do it. It's too many organizations that are being performative and they are operating in a reactive and in the moment type posture. We got to be a bit more strategic and thoughtful about, if we really want an employee to have that full experience, let's really think about what it looks like for our employees, whether they are working 2 days a week in the office, 4 days a week in the office, or no days at all.
866-801-8255 is the number. Torin Ellis, career specialist. He knows a lot about what is happening in the workplace because he's been doing this work for a long time. And coming up on August 5th, you have a Transform Recruitment Marketing Conference.
Oh, you saw that?
I did. I'm watching.
Yeah, so I wish I could say right now why I'm in Detroit, but I'm literally in Detroit right now. I'm going to be filming some content for that. And some of the people that I'm slated to speak to, you've already kind of spoke to it today. George Floyd, Stop AAPI. So we want to have like some incredible conversations, and they're the kind of conversations that we hope when people absorb them, they transform how they show up in the workplace. So that's what it is, and I'm headlining the event.
Okay. We've been talking about diversity. I hate D&I because I don't think it fixes the problem. I think it allows corporations to throw money and check a box and not really deal with the culture that created the inequity to begin with, because I don't think they really want to deal with the inequity. They want to check a box, and they rather spend the money checking the box than actually having to change behavior. If we're working in a company that is doing that right now and forcing us all to go to these meetings and forcing us all to have these meetings, what should our response be, and how do we actually make a real difference?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing that we do, Karen, is we make sure that we paint D&I as being beautiful. D&I is something that I absolutely love. And I know a number of organizations have struggled with it. I mean, a number of organizations have struggled. But the reason why they've checked the box is because we've allowed them to check the box. We haven't demanded more from them. You got too many consultants that are absolutely happy signing 6, 7, 8-figure deals. They're cool with just simply going through the motions. You bring a person like me in, and I'm agitating from the bottom up and from the top down. Let me give you 3 things that I think every organization should consider, small, medium, and large. Number 1, leadership needs to make a declarative statement as to how important diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is to the organization. That message, that declarative message, it doesn't have to be external facing, but every employee in the company should know where leadership stands. That's number 1. 2, they need to reallocate resources. We didn't get to this place overnight. So don't think that you can stand up in unconscious bias training, clap your hands, and think that you've done everything that you need to do around D&I. You need to reallocate resources. That would be dollars as well as headcount. I want to make sure that I am putting money behind what I say is important. I want to also make sure that I'm putting the right personnel behind what I say is important. Number 3, real simple, hold folks accountable. It really ain't that hard. If I say that this is important to me, I've been made investments with dollars and money, then I'm going to hold people accountable. We cannot afford in this moment to allow D&I to just simply be another checkbox measure. We cannot afford it to just simply be another press release or lip service. We have to make sure that we are fighting to hold our organizations accountable. And that's not just Torin as an outside consultant, or the person who's in the place as the chief diversity officer. That's every single person inside of the organization. Last thing that I'll say for you, the biggest accomplishment for me last year was not about how many clients I work with or how much money I made or how much speaking I did. The biggest accomplishment for me was 3 organizations said that they were going to make D&I a part of the performance evaluation of every single employee in the organization. That impacted over 100,000 people. To me, that's what D&I is supposed to look like. It's supposed to be, hey, Karen, what'd you do to support our mission towards D&I? Did you give us a referral? Did you introduce us to a candidate? Did you tell us about a community organization? Did you line us up with a philanthropic opportunity? Did you suggest a supplier to join up? What did you do? That's the question. So that's what I want to see in organizations.
866-801-8255. And Dr. Starsky, jump in whenever. Torin, you were one of the first people to talk about trucking changing with the driverless trucks. This was about 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. You also talked about 3D printing and other forms of tech that was going to change and transform how we do business. As our folk are listening right now, and those who are in service, which are frontline workers who were impacted by COVID, folks aren't coming back to those jobs. There's a job shortage in many of these service positions. Where should we be looking to work, and how, where's the next opportunity? What's around the corner?
So the National Women's Center back in, I want to say it was maybe March or April, Karen, don't quote me, but the National Women's Center put out a report and it said that women in COVID had lost 4.2 million positions, that we actually need 28 straight months of growth for women to recoup what they lost in COVID.
It's mostly Black women too, by the way, 60% of those. Go ahead.
If I know that hospitality and retail has been hit as hard as it's been hit and will continue to be challenged, if I know that organizations are doing everything that they can to automate, to displace workers, then I think the safe bet is for me to say that I need to be someplace next to either technology or how the business makes money. So that leaves it very broad and very open, but that's the truth, because a lot of organizations are not going to go out of business. Hotel companies are not going out of business. You got grocers that are not going out of business. You have construction companies that are not going out of business. But what you need to try to avoid is positions that can be automated or can be replaced by a robot. And the term the robot, it scares so many people. But when you think about it, Karen, how long have we had an ATM machine? How long have we had self-checkout in grocery stores? So this has been a slow moving transition, and now it's being accelerated. So what I would suggest is not so much so what industries to look at, but I would look at whatever industry I'm in. I'm either staying closer to the technology side of that business, or I am closer to how the business makes money. I don't want to be in one of these departments, business units that's kind of like a trial, or you really don't add money to the bottom line. Stay away from all of that.
You actually landed in a place where I was thinking about it before. So a trial, chief diversity officer has to be like the newest, hottest title, or vice president for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
You're right.
I was on the board of an organization a few years ago, and we had kind of a senior advisor for equity. And what the person confided with me, because I was working on a task force on this for the organization, they said, this is the loneliest job because my job is to disrupt everything else. And it also means that I don't have much job security because I will always be in tension with the organization if I'm in this job. So just wanted to see, do you think that role is gonna last? Is that a 10-year job? Or is that a role we're going to see 10 years from now within organizations? Or is it just a trial and a test? And what does it mean for the people, largely Black people, Black women who are fulfilling these roles, and their security in the workforce, not just to be able to work for an organization for a long time, but to be whole, sitting in the tension of that kind of role within an organization that was built against it.
10 years is just a drop in the bucket. That's a spit. So absolutely the role will be around. It's who will be around. People like me, I'll still be around. The folks that are running around doing this unconscious bias training, folks that are running around doing critical race theory training the wrong way, they won't be around.
Yeah.
But people that are optimizing and helping businesses navigate change management and organizational development, people that are able to add efficiency and efficacy into the pipeline, people that are able to help them identify new audiences of talent, strengthen relationships with community, bring different suppliers into their supplier diversity ecosystem, people that can help them impact the bottom line will be around. What I tell people is that if I can help you change the way that diversity and inclusion is viewed inside of your organization, if I can do it in a way that doesn't alienate white men, but gets them and keeps them included in the conversation, keeps Black women included in the conversation, brings Muslim women into the conversation, then I'm the person who's helping you build your productivity, build your engagement, and decrease your attrition. I'm valuable. So whatever you are paying me, I'm worth 6, 7, 8 times that because I'm impacting the bottom line. Yes, the position will be around. It's just that the folks that are kind of flirting with it on the boundaries, they won't be here.
How do you do what you do and not make white men feel uncomfortable or diminished or away about a thing? How do you do that?
Yeah, because
we're talking about that. We're talking about that not just in the workplace, but in the country at large. They feel as if all of this stuff is taking away their rights.
Yeah, I tell them, Karen, the 2 most powerful words in the lexicon are love and process. And so I make sure that they understand when I stand in front of them, whether it be on stage, whether it be in a private closed door meeting, whether it be in a private coaching session, I always let them know off the rip, I'm here because I love humanity. I love the work that I do. And to a certain degree, I have a love for you. That being said, I may say some things that make your ass move a little bit, but it's only because I'm telling you the truth. And if you change your perspective of how you process what I'm saying, then you'll understand that I'm not being animus. I'm not trying to push a zero-sum game there, that we are both growing and moving in the right direction. And is it 100% proof? Absolutely not. But trust me, I win far more than I lose because people understand, they understand that I'm trying to fight for, and I say this to them from stage, I'm challenging you to wrestle with what it means to be human. I want you to change your version of what you think humanity looks like when you've been excluding individuals from these workplaces, when you've been overlooking individuals, when you've been not compensating individuals, bypassing individuals. I had a man tell me a couple of weeks ago, I don't need to call them by their name. Well, that's their name. Because they're transgender, you may not like it, but that's their name. So you're going to call them by their name, or we're going to figure out a way to remove you from the equation, because I'm not getting ready to tolerate you being toxic and preventing us from making progress. I'm not coddling white men, but I'm not coddling lazy Black men either. I'm making sure that I am fair across the board.